Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle. And you know who's based? Freaking Japan. You know who sucks? The majority of Americans, especially on Twitter. I mean, are we really still going to talk about cultural appropriation in 2023? It's not a big deal. Leave it up to the country to decide if they're being appropriated, and that's exactly what's happening here, at least by the headline, I assume. Japan shrugs as Americans fume over Gwen Stefani appropriation. Look, I haven't read this article. Just like always, I have not read the article. I want to go through it together so that we get the news naturally, organically, and that I'm not, twisting it in any way, shape, or form to a narrative I already think of. I'm just going off the headline, and maybe my opinion will be changed as we go through here. But what I can assume is going to be the case is that we're going to have some butthurt individuals on Twitter, probably with colored hair and who are a bit overweight, unlike our Japanese counterparts, who are very great at staying thin. They're going to be throwing a fit about something that Gwen Stefani wore, probably like a kimono or something, saying that she's stealing Japanese culture. And Japan is going to do what they've done a million times in the past and say they love it. They love seeing other cultures appreciate their own culture. Exports to the West are a big deal for Japan. Let's go over it and see if I'm correct. Japanese people say they're bemused at controversy over U.S. pop singers' fascination with their culture. Man, I hate this, considering her a pop singer. Like, Gwen Stefani was a punk rock icon back in the 90s, and I still believe she's got those punk roots in her. I said a few videos ago my only celebrity crushes were Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey, and while that is true, there was a very long time where my celebrity crush, the greatest of all time, was Gwen Stefani, so I'm very excited to be covering this. Let's go through here. Tokyo, Japan. When Hiroka Sairo, a 30-year-old professional who lives in Shizuoka, Japan, saw that American pop singer Gwen Stefani was being accused of cultural appropriation in Western media, she couldn't understand the controversy. I personally think that it's pretty cool that people want to incorporate Japanese styles into their fashion, Sairo said, who works in the medical devices industry, told Al Jazeera. I don't have issues when, for example, foreigners wear kimono and walk around Kyoto for sightseeing. I actually love that people love our culture. Yeah, that's such a based opinion, and the majority of Japan feels like that. Dude, go to Japanese Twitter and look at, cultural appropriation stuff. The vast majority of them are against demonizing it. First of all, it's great for tourism and it's great for their economy. The next thing, are you going to claim that anime is cultural appropriation? That's arguably one of Japan's biggest exports to the West. It's a medium that has blown up over the last several years, and it's making them a lot of money. But are we filthy, pig-headed Americans wrong for liking Japanese media? Or worse, are we wrong for creating some of the greatest cartoons that have ever been made in the West, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, that were heavily based on anime? In an interview with Allure magazine published last week, Stefani, 53, God, she looks so good for 53, does she not? I mean, there's probably been a lot of plastic surgery, if I'm going to be honest, but I'm just saying. Sparked outrage across English-language media and social media with remarks expressing the deep sense of connection she feels with Japanese culture. Isn't that a good thing? Don't you want... I see this as a bit of a catch-22. If you're like, I hate all cultures, only American culture, well, then you're racist. I love other cultures. You're an appropriator. Where is the win? Stefani, who is Italian-American, defended taking inspiration from Harajuku fashion, named after the eponymous Tokyo neighborhood, for her fragrance and apparel brands, and recalled her first visit to the famous fashion district. I said, my God, I'm Japanese and I didn't know it, said Stefani, who also described herself as a little bit of an Orange County girl, a little bit of a Japanese girl, a little bit of an English girl. Yeah, what's wrong with that? Oh my God, I'm Japanese and I didn't know it. Do you know how many basement-dwelling nerds I know that wish they were Japanese because they want that Japanese girlfriend IRL? Or maybe they're just happy with their 2D waifu. I don't know. The point is, I've seen a lot of skinny dudes lament over the fact that they were born white instead of, Japanese. Jessa Marie Kaller, the article's Filipino-American author, wrote that the interview left her unsettled and quoted several U.S. academics warning of the dangers of white people commodifying the cultures of marginalized groups. Who is calling Japan a marginalized group? They're one of the most successful, industrious cultures in the modern free world. Asians are not a marginalized group, or at least most Asian. I mean, okay. Maybe you could say North Koreans are marginalized, but not by us Americans. They're marginalized by their own people. What a disgusting way to view Asians. All right. Including distorting perceptions other people have of minorities and the minorities have of themselves. Look, I have met plenty of Asians in my life. I'm going to let you know now. I live in a college city. And in this college city, we have a very large Chinese foreign exchange program. And I have never met a single one of them, a single one, that thinks that they are lesser. If anything, they're kind of arrogant, but that's a-okay. They've earned it. I love seeing arrogant Asians because, well, they're beating us in every metric and it shows, and you know what? That's something to be proud of. Good job, Asians. Media outlets, including CNN, The Guardian, CBS, ABC, NBC, and BuzzFeed. Oh, well, you're stretching it calling BuzzFeed a news outlet or a media outlet, but alright. Picked up the interview in resulting social media firestorm while notably omitting any reference to the views of Japanese people themselves. So what you're saying is you're showing your bias. Not Al Jazeera here, but like CBS, ABC, NBC, especially BuzzFeed. So they're going to pick up on the fact that, oh, Americans are throwing a fit, but not actually taking into consideration what the Japanese feel about this. How is that not the racist side? Hey, yo, Japanese people, shut up. We'll tell you how to feel. No, sit down, Nakamura. You don't get a say. This is bad for you. We promise. Shinji, don't make me come over there. Like, that is so messed up. In Japan, the controversy is barely registered as a blip. Japanese media have largely ignored the Stefani interview, with the only references to the controversy appearing on small webzines and blogs. Webzines? Never heard that term. Huh. On social media, some Japanese users have posed defenses for the former No Doubt singer in the accounts of Western media outlets that accuse her of cultural appropriation, which broadly describes the inappropriate adoption of the customs, practices, or ideas of a culture by members of another group. Sario said most Japanese are neither familiar with nor sensitive about cultural appropriation, a once obscure academic term that has moved from the U.S. university departments into the Western mainstream in recent years. Dude, I hadn't heard the term cultural appropriation in so long. It had to be like some big 2018 energy was the last time I heard it, and even then it seemed like it was fizzling out, except around Halloween. You do always get the various Twitter posts and Facebook posts and whatnot about how these are the list of things your kids can't wear for Halloween, and then that's about it. So, you know, it happens for like a month or so on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and then it dies off. I literally thought it was something we left in the past, but nope, here it is, back in full force. Gotta love America. We've got homeless people in California dying in the streets and defecating all over them so that they roll downhill. No help for mental health. But yeah, let's focus on whether or not we're upsetting Japanese people with cultural appropriation, even though they're saying we're not. Some Japanese even use the term porikor, a portmanteau of political correctness, to describe those who discuss such issues, she said. Lin Tsuchiya, a 23-year-old Japanese professional living in Tokyo, said she was unfazed by Stefani's comments. I think it's fine to take inspiration from something you love into your work as long as there's respect with no stereotypical themes or misconceptions involved, Tsuchiya told Al Jazeera. Exactly. It's not like Gwen Stefani is touring with No Doubt in Japan and she's like, all right, who ready to hear I just a girl in the world? Like, that's not what Gwen Stefani's doing. She's doing nothing but showing respect for a culture that she loves, a culture that a lot of people love. Japanese cultural exports are such a massive form of economic success for Japan. Anyway, we'll keep going. Sorry, as a weeb, this is upsetting me. As a weeb who loves No Doubt, this is upsetting me. Oh, one more. Got me feeling hella good, so I gon' keep on dancing. Like, she's not doing that, guys. Sei Nagamatsu, a 26-year-old Francophone living in Tokyo. I have no idea what a Francophone is, but it sounds like an instrument Dr. Seuss would have made up. Anyway, said she did not take offense after coming across reports about the controversy in French media. She just loves Japanese culture and did not make disrespectful, offensive remarks towards Japanese people, Nagamatsu said. Cultural appropriation depends on the context. I completely agree. There is negative... I'm not going to say cultural appropriation... Oh, I was going to say I'm not going to say it isn't real, but it's not. Cultural appropriation isn't real, at least in a negative way. You can appropriate a culture in a positive way. If you were being negative about it, that's not cultural appropriation. That's just racism. If you're walking around and like pulling your eyes back and doing the awful accent I just did, but in a way to denigrate Asian people, that's not cultural appropriation. That's just racism. But there's nothing wrong with appreciating and taking inspiration from someone else's culture and putting it out for the world to see in a positive light. So no, cultural appropriation isn't real, at least not in a negative way, because once it becomes negative, it's just racism, not cultural appropriation. Stefani is not the first person to reveal a disconnect between Western sensitivities around so-called appropriation and the perspectives of Japanese people themselves. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here's a picture of Scarlett Johansson as the Major, Makoto, from the live-action Ghost in the Shell movie. I'm going to lay this out right before I read any further. I'm going to lay it out here. The creator of Ghost in the Shell straight up said it was fine because the character's body is a robot. There's a Japanese brain in that body. Because for those of you that don't know the story, basically, human brain that's augmented with cybernetics and stuff put into a robot. And that robot is a badass assassin woman. So that's Ghost in the Shell. It's a whole lot more complex. One of the greatest movies ever made. Like, I'm not even an exaggeration. Not just for an anime movie. It's literally one of the greatest movies ever made. If you like cyberpunk stuff, it tops The Matrix by far. Anyway, the Japanese brain is put into a robot. Even the creator said, yeah, the skin color doesn't matter because it's a robot. It could go in anyone. The character could have been Mexican. It wouldn't have been whitewashing. Wouldn't have been cultural appropriation. And if the creator comes out and says it's fine, guys, I'm going to assume it's fine. Sorry, I got a little bit triggered here when I saw this photo because I bet that's what they're going to talk about. Let's read on, shall we? The 2017 Hollywood adaptation of the Japanese anime movie Ghost in the Shell was slammed for whitewashing upon release, despite being a smash hit at the box office in Japan. The 2020 PlayStation 4 game Ghost of Tsushima, a tale of samurai in feudal era Japan made by Western developer Sucker Punch, faced accusations of racial stereotyping for Western media, but received effusive praise from Japanese reviewers. Yeah, it's almost like if you portray the culture accurately, especially in in times of the past, in a historical setting, you're racial stereotyping. No, it's just the past. That's how it works. Do you want a game that's historically accurate, especially a game that is intensive to create and well loved and respected as Ghost of Tsushima? In 2015, the Museum of Fine Arts in the U.S. city of Boston called its Kimono Wednesdays event where visitors were allowed to try on the Japanese garment after claims of racism, despite the exhibition having the endorsement of Japan's national broadcaster and taking place without controversy in several Japanese cities. That one I hadn't heard of. That is amazing. Japan's like, yo, we want you to do this. Go get them, America. And then some people on Twitter were like, you're racist. And Japan's like, what? No, come on, guys. Really? Roland Keltz, a visiting professor of Waseda University and author of Japan America, How Japanese Pop Culture Has Invaded the U.S., said the ire directed towards Stefani and others accused of cultural appropriation is largely a Western preoccupation. Oh, shocker. Who would have seen this coming? No one I know in Japan, aside from their Western friends, will take issue with her claims, which are mostly still silly pop froth. No one here needs to prove that they're Japanese, so no one is threatened by a leggy Italian-American pop star proclaiming that she is, Keltz told Al Jazeera. Keltz said Japanese culture likewise freely adopts and absorbs Western influences. No one blinks when a Japanese bluegrass band wearing Stetsons and cowboy boots sings West Virginia coal mining ditties in Ginza, he said, referring to one of Tokyo's most popular entertainment districts. Okay, I don't know anything about that, but what I will say, because I love Japanese music, and I'm not just talking about anime openings. No, I'm talking about an old 90s band called Pot Shot Go-Go. They are a Japanese ska band, and they are awesome. For those of you that don't know, ska is not a Japanese style of music. In fact, it's a Caribbean style of music, very influenced by reggae, that was then co-opted by America, the UK, and basically a 90s punk movement, but actually started in the 70s. Point is, no matter how you slice it, American, UK, Caribbean, it's very much not Japanese. But Pot Shot Go-Go, they're a pretty dope, or at least they were a pretty dope, I don't think they're still together anymore, pretty dope Japanese ska band. So let me tell you, yeah, the Japanese don't care about cultural appropriation. They just care about cool shit. Or when Kentucky Fried Chicken's Colonel Sanders is annually dressed as Santa Claus, but what's remarkable is that many of Japan's acquisitions from other cultures are seamlessly integrated into what it means to be Japanese. The language, the disposition, the core unconscious behavior of Japaneseness remains intact. That was so difficult to say, Japaneseness. I thought I was having a hernia or something. Even so, Keltz admitted that he is sensitive to some of the concerns over Stefani's comments as the person of Japanese descent who grew up in the U.S. What's sad and silly is that Stefani could have easily clarified that she loves Japanese culture and then it feels like part of her identity without embarrassing herself and insulting Asian Americans. Look, if you're insulted, that's your prerogative. other people don't get to decide if you are insulted or not. That's for you to do. But if you were insulted by such a meaningless, frivolous comment, then you're weak. Stefani has a long history of using foreign cultural motifs in her work. She was frequently seen wearing a bindi, the dot worn on the forehead of people in the Indian subcontinent in the 1990s. The music video for her 2005 song Luxurious features Hispanic props and costumes, while in Looking Hot, released in 2012, she dresses a Native American woman. Stefani has pushed back against claims of cultural appropriation in the past, as she should have. Good on you, Gwen. We learn from each other, we share from each other, we grow from each other, she said in a 2021 interview with Paper magazine. Yeah, Paper, as opposed to all the most common cardboard magazines. And all these rules are just dividing us more and more. What a based woman. Damn. Stefani has long maintained that she feels a kinship with Japan in particular. Stefani's 2004 album, Love Angel Music Baby, was heavily inspired by Japanese culture. In 2008, Stefani launched a range of fragrances packaged in bottles modeled after her 4 Japanese-American Harajuku girls backup dancers. The Harajuku Lovers perfume range, which won the Fragrance Foundation's Fragrance of the Year award in 2009, is sold in Japan, including at the largest e-retailer in the country, Rakuten, as well as in Western markets. In 2015, she presided over the launch of the Japanese-inspired anime series Kuku Harajuku, which ran for 3 seasons over 78 episodes. What has this woman not done? Jeez! As a musician, Stefani toured Japan with No Doubt as early as 1995 and as a solo artist on the Sweet Escape tour in 2007. Man, that's a throwback song. Sweet Escape featuring Akon. Ooh. Or maybe it was Akon featuring Gwen Stefani. Either way, Stefani has traced her obsession to her father, Dennis, who traveled to Japan frequently in Stefani's youth as an employee of Yamaha Motorcycles, often bringing back Japanese gifts for his young daughter. Machiko Aikoa Gozen, a 44-year-old entrepreneur who was raised in a samurai family in Kazawa, the capital of Ishikawa Prefecture, says she sees the adoption of Japanese culture abroad as a cause for celebration. The Japanese just keep getting more based! Culture is not a brand. It's a more deep and interconnected, and the more visible it is, the stronger it is, Gozen told Al Jazeera. Dude, Al Jazeera interviewed a lot of people for this. You've got to give props to whoever conducted these interviews and put this article together. I don't praise the media very often. In fact, I think 9 times out of 10 they're scum. But there's some good work going on in this article, not just because it's saying stuff I agree with, but with all the discovery and research it's done. You have to appreciate at least the hard work that went into it, even if you disagree. My family have used matcha tea for more than 400 years, and when I travel, I see a lot of brands from the USA doing similar Japanese concepts. I feel more positive than negative, as eventually such awareness will attract the public to the source. That is exactly correct. Look, Dragon Ball Z came to America in the 90s. I watched it and I was a massive fan, and that led me to seek out other Japanese entertainment, which led me to seek out Japanese music, take Japanese classes in high school. I used to be not fluent, but conversational. And that's one of those things, if you don't use it, you lose it. But I can still say some things in Japanese. I can still watch anime and pick up on certain things when they say it, even without subtitles. Point is, she is entirely correct. When you find something you love, you want to get closer to the source, especially as it grows and becomes more accessible. Karine Takeda, a 21-year-old student in the northern city of Sapporo, said she sees Stefani's fascination as proof that Japanese culture is being transmitted to the world. I'm very happy to see people enjoying Japanese culture across borders, Takeda told Al Jazeera. However, when Japanese people adopt other countries' cultures, they are often criticized as imitating America. This is very sad. I think countries should be open to accepting each other's cultures. Takeda, you will probably never see this, but you are an honorable woman. Oh wait, can I say honorable? Is that cultural appropriation? Is that racist? Point is, you're awesome. I love you. And that's the end of this article. But let me know what you guys think. Is there such a thing as cultural appropriation, or is it pretty much a positive thing? Because like I said earlier, once it becomes negative, it's not cultural appropriation. It's just racism. But maybe you have a different take, and if you do, that's a-okay. I will say, take yourself out of the American, if you're watching this in America, the American side of this, and maybe try and look through it from a more culturally diverse lens. Look at it from the opposite side of the spectrum and appreciate what they have to say before you shove your Eurocentric beliefs on anybody else. But that's just my thought process on the whole matter. But by all means, I got nothing else to say on this except for like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. I'm really trying to grow the channel, and I've got videos covering all manner of things. The Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial has new and interesting information when it comes to Depp's lawyer, which is pretty great. Dungeons & Dragons going absolutely crazy. So if you want news from the nerdosphere, I'm the channel to watch. Definitely subscribe, and until next time, this has been Words of Paradise.